We're just buckling up for Sunday. When you found out it was going to be the Battle of Ontario, what went through your mind?
Well, there's a lot of memories flowing back, that's for sure. We had some. I heard you previously talking about it too, so there's some great memories for sure, and we had some battles back then. But it's going to be exciting. It's good to see Ottawa back in the playoffs too, and you know, for the people of Ontario, they have a lot of good hockey to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Jonas, you look at the clips from those series, and the intensity level was through the roof. I know it was a different era, but what do you remember about going from the regular season to the playoffs, specifically the Battle of Ontario, and how much did the intensity level get ramped up before that in the locker room?
Well, as you guys know, there's a reason why you call it two seasons, right? There's a regular season and there's a postseason. There's a totally different game, especially back then. The physicality was, you can get away with a lot of stuff that you can't do today. So, but there was just you get that rivalry heating up, and then you meet them in the playoffs, and we did that 2 or 3 years in a row. I think we had Ottawa, so there was a lot of rivalry. They had Bonk and Hossa and Alfredson, obviously, and we had those. We had the players that we had too. So, and they weren't quiet in the regular season, but once the playoff season started, they heated up even more.
What do you remember about Pat Quinn behind the bench? Just an absolute legend, as you know, in these parts. Him coaching in those Battle of Ontario's against Ottawa.
Well, he was a player's coach for sure, but he let us play, and but he things could get a bit heated too on the benches. I remember one time in Ottawa too, but that was in the regular season when Tuxie and Greeny were fighting their players on the bench, and Pat wasn't too happy about that, so he could get pretty upset and heated, and he was a big guy and intimidating guy. So, but more often than not, he was quite cool and let us players play.
Leadership, I think, comes to the forefront a lot of the times when you see teams go on a run. What do you remember about that Maple Leafs locker room on who stepped up, who were the voices, who took on that leadership role on those teams?
Matt for sure, and then we had Gary Roberts, who had 1 year. Obviously, that was in 2002. I think he was unbelievable that whole playoffs, especially when Matt got hurt in the first round against Ottawa, and then we went on to play Islanders in the second round and Carolina, unfortunately, in the conference final when we lost. But that year in that playoffs, Gary Roberts really stepped it up, and we had so many good leaders on our team. We had Mogilny, Tucker, Corson, Mats obviously, and Steve Thomas early on. So we had so many good leaders, and Curtis Joseph in net. I mean, Brian McCabe, Carberley. There was a whole team that could take on a leadership role, and everybody got along well and hung out outside the ring too. So we had a good chemistry on our team, and I think that that's really a big key when you want to have team success, is that when everybody get along, and we hung out with the wives, the teams together. Ty Domi, was a big leader on that team, obviously. So for a team to go far, I think you really need to care about each other, and that's what we did back then.
I was texting with Travis Green last night. He says hello, by the way, but I think that's the intrigue to this series as well. He was on the Maple Leaf side of things in the Battle of Ontario. Now he's the head coach of the Ottawa Senators. How weird is it to see Greeny behind the Sens bench right now?
Yeah, it is pretty weird. He was one of those guys that I hung out with back then. He's a really good friend, and it's good to see him do well. I think that for him, it's got to be feeling a little bit weird for himself to go in. He has to remember those times too when we were in the playoffs and had those runs, and so it's got to be a little weird for him. But he's done a great job with that team, obviously, and like I said, it's great to see Ottawa back in the playoffs, and they have a really good regular season, and I think Greeny has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, as we know about this current Maple Leafs roster, this core has had trouble in the playoffs before. It's no secret. But what do you think the problem has been with them in the playoffs, and what do you think they need to do to rectify that, specifically against the Senators coming up here?
Oh, I mean, they got to let it. they gotta let it go. They know everybody that plays for Toronto and in Toronto knows what kind of pressure it is, and I think the key players now, they've been there a lot. They've been there for a few years. I mean, the Marners and the Matthews and the Nylanders, they've been around a few times. Especially Marner has gotten some heat in previous playoffs. You need the best players to be your best players, obviously, to go far in the playoffs. And hopefully this year they can do it. And I think, I mean, Willie has had a great year, and Matthews has a little bit ups and downs, but he's playing well now. He's been hurt, and I think, like I said, your best players got to be your best players, and then I mean, it's gonna be a fun series to watch, and then just hope for the best.
What have you made of Willie Nylander's season? You talk about Sweden, obviously you got to talk about Willie, but he's had an unbelievable year, 45 goals this year for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I thought actually he was gonna reach 50 because we only had one Swedish player that ever reached 50, and that's Håkan Lou back in 89 or something, 80, well, late 80s anyways. He's the only Swedish player to ever hit 50 goals. I thought it looked like he was able to reach that, but I mean, it's a big ask to score 50, but he's had 45 and he's had an unbelievable year. He's getting better and better for each year, and he's one of those guys too that's been playing great in playoffs, and and it doesn't really matter what kind of game it is. He steps up he rises to the occasion pretty much every time. So he's had an unbelievable year.
Mm-hmm. Jonas, last one from me. I need a prediction on this Battle of Ontario here in 2025.
I got to go Leafs. And they're going to win it in 6. So I say 4-2.
I like that.
Leafs.
Okay. And I was just going to leave you with this. We talked about Pat Quinn. I know it's from a distance here, but what have you made of the job Craig Berube has done? Do you see a lot of similarities between Quinn and Berube?
I think they play with a little bit more grit than they did previous years. Berube has been working hard. I think too that Berube, he holds them accountable, but he seems to be a player's coach too. Everybody seems to like to play for him, and then I don't know. I didn't know Keith well enough to say anything about what he done the previous years with the Leafs, but I think that this year they seem to work harder. They seem to work more together than previous years, from what I can see anyway. So, but. He has a good track record. He's won before. He won with St. Louis as a coach, so he's been there, and hopefully this could be the year for him.
Very well said, Jonas. It is go time here on the Stanley Cup playoffs. Great to reconnect with you once again. Enjoy the postseason. Do you have any plans to come down to Toronto for this series?
Well, if they go deep in the playoffs, I might come over for sure. Toronto in the playoffs time is just an amazing city to be in. I have so many good memories from our time there, and especially in the playoff time. So if they go deep, I might come over for sure.
Awesome. Great news. We'll talk soon. Enjoy it, okay?
All right. Thank you, guys.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.